The Zen master was asked by one of his lifelong students what the purpose of his lifelong practice had been, and his response was beautifully simplistic. He basically said an appropriate response to life. And sometimes that's all we're really looking for. I mean, we tend to approach a lot of spiritual practices and Eastern philosophies with a set agenda of feeling better or escaping pain or not having to deal with whatever struggle it is that we currently have going on with our lives. And we forget that the underlying idea behind all of these practices is basically just to be able to create a little bit of space between a stimulus and a response in order to act a little bit more compassionately, to be more responsive as opposed to being reactive, to be more understanding, to be kinder, to be more forgiving, to be more tolerant, And I suppose oftentimes we make it all about us. We make it all about me feeling better, where a lot of these practices are about being a better person for other people. And we tend to be very defensive and we tend to take so many things personally, and consequently we make enemies of almost everyone. It's like as if everyone can hurt us in some way, and they can. Oftentimes the people who are closest to us can actually do the most damage. But we have to take responsibility for how it is that we feel internally, because ultimately, if we're constantly in a place of reaction, if we are constantly giving the other people the power to determine how we feel internally, well, that's on us. So it's about being able to regulate, it's about developing resiliency, and it's about recognizing that yes, you will suffer in life and you will experience pain and rejection, and sometimes things just won't be fair. However, you can either attach yourself to that unfairness and to this sense of self-righteousness, or you can try to look at things from as compassionate a light as possible. Now, this isn't easy. Believe you me, I know. It's really difficult to put into place, particularly if somebody has hurt you in a very tender or raw spot. But that being said, the choice is yours. I mean, you can spend the rest of your life in a place of defense, in a place of bitterness and resentment, or you can try to shift over into a place of compassion and acceptance, where you try to almost float in a place of love as opposed to being swamped by anger. And it's kind of looking at people who hurt you in life, or looking at people who you don't particularly like for whatever reason, and recognizing their pain and their suffering, and questioning the motives that you have projected onto them. Because again, we tend to assume that our motives are always pure and that other people's motives are completely untoward, and that's not always the case. I mean, more often than not, everyone is acting from either a place of love or fear, and we tend to see other people acting from a place of just pure malevolence. Like, we just think, oh, they're just being an asshole. Whereas, if we can look at it from a slightly different perspective and ask ourselves, okay, what's the likelihood that I would act like that if I was in their shoes, or if I had some massive pain in my life, or maybe I've acted like that and not even thought that much of it. And it's being very honest and humble with ourselves. It's living in a place of integrity. It's reminding ourselves that there but for the grace of God go I. And that's been a big one for me, because again, I feel that my life could have gone in a very dark direction so many times, and indeed it has. And I have been lucky and blessed and fortunate enough to have the resources, or to just be, as I said, sheer lucky enough to turn the tables and to be able to pull myself out of it. And I suppose that has helped me build resiliency, and that has helped me sustain hope. But not everybody has that. And it's recognizing that the people who are oftentimes the most difficult to deal with are the people who need compassion and forgiveness the most. And I love that kind of whole idea of the loving kindness meditation. I was actually only talking to a client about it this morning, where you do a loving kindness meditation for yourself. You do one for somebody that you love greatly. You do one for somebody who's kind of neutral in your life. and then you do a loving kindness meditation for somebody who has hurt you quite badly, or somebody who you really dislike at the moment. And this really helps you create that sense of, forgiveness and benevolence, and brings you into a place of equanimity. Because again, when we're carrying resentment and hatred, the only ones that we're really hurting is ourselves. We're keeping ourselves in a state of stress and distress, and it's unnecessary. And it's not that you're a walkover or a doormat. I'm not saying that you have to allow people just to take advantage of you. I mean, part of resiliency is being able to say no and to stand up for yourself, but just that you don't carry hatred round with you all of the time, and that you accept your life for what it is. Because we spend half of our time trying to escape where we're at, because we're not particularly happy in the moment. We're not happy with what we look like. We're not happy with how much money we have. We feel like as if we want to be more successful, that we want to be happy all of the time. And this is why, as I said, so many people have this agenda going into these practices of acceptance and awareness. They want to feel good. They want to look good. They want to feel happy. And unfortunately, that's just not what this work is about. This work is about learning to be a better person for others, to be more tolerant, to be more kind, to be more aware, and to be able to witness your suffering, to be able to coexist with your pain, as opposed to always resisting it. And unfortunately, there's no easy way to do that, no matter how much we want the quick fix or the solution. And again, the commercialization of a lot of this work has really led people to believe that, it's as straightforward as a 3-day retreat or a 5-day program. But I mean, if you don't take those practices, which are very simple and straightforward, which can be learned basically from reading from Google. I mean, you don't have to pay an awful lot to understand how to implement kindness and awareness and love and compassion. They are inside of us all. All we have to do is to allow them to shine through. And yes, there are a lot of conditioning and past experience that we have to wade past first, and sometimes we may need help with that, but generally that should be done on a very one-to-one basis. It's intimate work, as opposed to paying out for all of these courses all of the time, which guarantee happiness that unfortunately is never guaranteed to begin with. So it's about being very accepting of how far you can take things, and being able, as I said, to be very present in your life, whether that be good or bad. And I heard a lovely phrase the other day, and it was just saying that you need to wake up, you need to clean up, you need to grow up, and then you need to show up. And it's amazing, because we need to do all of those things for ourselves, for other people, and just try to come at everything with as open a mind and heart as possible. That's all you can ask for, because again, we overcomplicate things. We are a complicated being already. We don't need to get caught up in everyone else's BS, and we don't need to be continuously reacting to everybody else's pain and suffering. We have enough of our own to deal with. And as I said, it's kind of always challenging the stories that you're telling yourself, because ultimately that's where so much of our pain comes from. And it's doing it again and again. That's what this practice is about, because it's not like as if you apply this solution once and everything is eradicated. It's ongoing, and believe you me, it can be exhausting at times. It can be tedious. It's not very glamorous, but it is a lovely way to live, to just have a goal, or just have an intention of meeting as much of your life as possible with love. I hope everyone's having a great day. I'll talk to you again soon.